Oh yeah. Oh, that is thick. That is thick right there. Look at that. Oh, you can feel it properly. To my knowledge, this thing has never been serviced. I haven't serviced it. My dad hasn't been servicing it. And we've probably owned this thing together for, I don't know, 10 years, probably more. I can check that out actually, but it definitely needs a little bit of love. So we're gonna do the following, and brace yourself. It's gonna be a lot here. We're gonna clean the air cleaner. We're actually gonna be replacing the filter. We're gonna lube it up and all that stuff. So a complete air cleaner check. We're gonna check the air cleaner housing and drain pipe. We're gonna change the spark plugs. We're gonna change the oil and old filter, obviously. We're gonna do the oil in the rear final gear case oil and the differential oil. So both the front and rear axle, basically. We're gonna change the brake fluid. We're gonna check the brake shoes, maybe just those. We're gonna check the whole brake system, make sure everything's running fine there. So it's gonna be a lot. Check the timestamps down below if you're looking for something special. I will be making all these chapters down there so you can just hop onto whatever you need. I'll also link to the documentation here so you guys can print that out and check it out for yourselves. All right, so let's go. Now, I just want to start out by saying I am no expert at this. I've never done a service on it, like I said, so I'm just gonna go off the paper here, but I'll show you, which can be helpful sometimes. All right, so we're gonna start by letting this thing idle for 5 minutes. Should start no problem. Might want to take it outside though. And just to make sure that it runs long enough, set a little timer on your phone or whatever so you can kind of keep track of it. All right, that's enough. Now currently this bike has gone 2,128 kilometers. I'll put the imperial stuff down here so you guys can keep along. The oil is supposed to be changed every 2 years, or every 100 hours, or every 600 miles, or every 1,000 kilometers. So it's definitely due for a change just on the years alone. So I'm gonna let you guys know the service schedule of everything that I do in this video. All right, so let's get the PPE on. Now, an interesting thing in the notes here says that you gotta change the oil filter first. There's a little note here. Note, change the oil with the engine warm to assure complete and rapid draining. Note number 2, pour the engine oil after replacing the oil filter. All right, so we actually have the oil filter behind this little plate here. So we're gonna do these nuts right here, bolts, whatever you wanna call them. Now it's important to have something underneath here because it's gonna ruin everything here. It's just gonna run oil all over the case here. You wanna kinda catch that somewhere. Well, they're definitely not over tightened. I am wondering if I am the first one to change the oil on this thing. That would be kind of not good. I haven't heard any weird noises from it or anything, so hopefully it's good. Well, I can hear it. Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is really full. Now, there is a little spring right here, so you want to watch out so that doesn't, fall out and disappear. Wow, the oil is really gooey. Oh yeah, make sure you do your services on time, guys. It's going to be an O-ring here too that needs replacing. Although no one seems to be replacing it, but it should be replaced. And then on this, we have an O-ring right here. Get that out of there. Don't lose the spring. God, it's really mucky in there. I wonder if I have some brake cleaner or something. Let's just go ahead and clean this out a little bit. sure that's nice and clean. And do the spring as well. There we go. Now we've got those clean. Get the new O-ring on there. Just dip this in there. Get a little bit of an oil on the O-ring. Put it back like so. And the same thing goes for this little O-ring right here. A little bit of Earl on it. Stick a new one on there. And we put the spring inside and the new oil filter, and you can take a look at the writing here. Outside towards the filter cover. So it'll say that, or it will say inside or whatever. So it's supposed to go in like that. Handle this, will it stay? Kind of. A lot of spring action going on here. You want to have the screws ready. Actually, there's a little spout on there. You want to make sure it's really on there. That feels good. All right, get the screws. And then you want to give these guys 10 Newton meters, which is like nothing. There we go. All right, so now we can take the drain plug, and it's the bigger hole out of all these small ones. Should be a 17 millimeter. Stick it up there until you feel something. Crack it loose. Here we go. This is going to be fun. Let's see how this looks like. Oh yeah. Oh, that is thick. That is thick right there. Look at that. Oh, you can feel it properly. That was not serviced properly. Great. Oh, I'm gonna let that drain good and properly so we get all of that stuff out. And I am not gonna wait 1,000 kilometers till next service. I'll probably do this once again come winter time. Just changing the oil so we can kind of get all that gunk flushed out. While that's dripping, you can go ahead and pull the pan over a little bit. Now that you see where the oil goes, you can clean off the excess that spilt out when we changed the oil filter. Alright, so that's kind of drained. You want to check so that there's no gasket left behind here, but I think I heard it fall down. Put a new gasket on your screw up here. It's at a little bit of an angle. Just be aware of that. And this guy gets torqued to 25 Newton meters. Alright, so I just went ahead and cut up the oil filter here so you can kind of see what's in the filter. And it doesn't look very good, to be honest. We have some metal fragments in here. Just gonna go ahead and show you if it'll zoom in. Right there we have some metal. We have metal all along here. So that's not very good. But you also got to keep in mind that this is both the transmission oil and the engine oil. This is why it's very important to keep your service schedules, obviously. Look at that big one right there. That doesn't feel very good. Well, all right, so time to fill up the oil. It's going to be 2 liters or 2.1 US quarts or 1.8 imperial quarts at draining. Now, if this was a complete engine disassembly and you were filling it up for the first time, it would be 2.5 liters, 2.6 US quarts or 2.2 imperial quarts. We're gonna go ahead and use a little funnel. All right, so today we're using some 1040 oil. I'm gonna put all the specifications of the oil in the description below so you guys can check it out. What you need, it's a little bit special, not just any type of oil. You can't use car engine oil or anything like that. You need some special additives in there for the transmission and such, so make sure you just don't use whatever you have laying around. So we're gonna go with 1 liter first. There we go. Ooh. Yeah, it's way too much. We're like up here somewhere. But let's fire it up and see where it kind of settles. And you know, just set the timer for 5 minutes so the oil can drip down properly. All right, so let's check the dipstick here, see where we're at. Apparently, you're not supposed to screw the dipstick all the way in when checking. So you're just supposed, that's why it has this little thing here. So you're just supposed to stick it down like that and then pull it up. As you can see, it's at completely full. I don't know if it's in focus, but it's at the top mark. So it's good. Now if you thread it all the way down, just for reference, see what that is. Yeah, it's like 3-4 millimeters above. All right, so I'm getting ready to do the diff oils, front and rear. I had to pause a little bit because we had a surprise storm roll in here. So don't mind my tobacco plants because I had to bring those inside. Had to save on those. Anyway, this is a little bit more straightforward, so let's just get to it. All right, so we're gonna start here at the rear diff. Even though it's not a diff, it's technically called a rear final gear case. And we're gonna start with changing the oil in this, and it's pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna start with removing the filler cap here. And this shouldn't be too tight. It's got an O-ring on it. It needs to be replaced, although it does look pretty good, so you can probably reuse that. Make sure that pops open. Next thing we want to do is to remove this cover right here because it needs to be cleaned, and I don't think you can access the drainage hole without taking it off. So let's do that. As a matter of fact, when you have made sure that you can get this off, you can kind of put it back on here a little bit so that you don't get any dirt in there. I know that most ATVs are not as clean as this, so reality is not the same as YouTube sometimes. But I want to keep things clean so you guys can see everything. All right, so let's get this cover up now. So you want to remove these 3 bolts. You have one in the front here. And this is a 12 millimeter. You see all that dirt in there? And I mean, I clean this thing quite often, but you do get a lot of debris in there. Now here you'll find the drain plug right there. But before we take the drain plug, you want to take the level plug, which is on this side. And this is going to be a 10 millimeter bolt. Snap that off like so. Now you might get some oil here, so let me get something to catch it in. Now we can take this out. We've got plenty of oil in there. So the rear final gear case oil and the front differential oil should be changed every 1,200 miles, 200 hours, 2,000 kilometers, or every 2 years, which one ever occurs first. This one hasn't been changed for 10 plus years, but I mean, it still looks okay, but you gotta remember they do deteriorate over time. It's also a little bit bright, so we probably have a lot of condensation water in there due to the time that's spent in there. I have no reason to think that this is taking in water in any way. We have no leaks on the outside of the axle, but if you do have leaks on the outside of the axle and your oil is more white than black, then you might have problems with the seals. All right, so now that we've made sure that we can take this off, we can take that off, and now we can go for the drain plug. Because now you can still back out. Now you still have oil in the axle. You can still tighten everything up and drive. But if you crack this bottom one first and then you don't get these out, then you're in trouble. So let's carry on. Let's get the drain plug. And this is going to be a 10 mil as well. And this also allows the oil to drain faster if you have taken the other two plugs out first. Put that to the side and let that slowly drain out. Now you want to go ahead and change the gaskets on the drain plug and the level check here, but I didn't get that in my service kit. I only got the one. I'm going to give you a little hack though, because I'm going to measure this. This is an aluminum gasket, or I don't know if it's called a gasket, really. This is 2 millimeters thick. The outside diameter is 15. The inner diameter is 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. So 8.5, 15, and 2 mil thick. Just gonna go ahead and put this new one on the bottom, on the drain plug-in at the back here. Now you will notice that it doesn't really fit snugly on the screw here, but I guess that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, the original one doesn't really fit very good either, so it's a bit weird, but maybe it has a purpose. All right, so now that it has stopped dripping, we're gonna go ahead and put the drain plug back in with the new gasket. Put that on like so. And then you torque the drain bolt to 12 Newton meters, or 9 foot-pounds, or pounds-foot. There we go. Now we can take the filler cap off again here. That to the side. And go ahead and get the oil. Or the oil. Very important that it's in hypoid gear oil, because it says so in the cover here. So you should probably be putting that in. But let's see if this one has a good little snout on it. Nope. Just put this at the top here and try not to spill it. And we're going to be pouring this until it starts to drip out of the level plug here on the side. So that needs to be removed, obviously. Now this should hold 85 cubic centimeters of oil. So let's just pour it until it comes out of the level hole there. I think that's the simplest way to put it. There we go. You can see here. Now we got the oil flowing out of the level plug here. I just want to let that drain until it stops flowing. Alright, so now we put the level plug back. We can pretend that I put a new gasket on here, even though I didn't. And tighten that down to 12 Newton meters. Alright, so the final step is just to get the old gasket off with the old O-ring. It's holding stiff. Put the new one on there. Like so. You can get a little bit of oil on there as well, if you'd like. I think it's always a good idea. And then you just put that back, make sure the surface here is clean. Now there is no specified torque on this, I'm just going to do that one. 12 as well. Alright, so the last step is to put this cover back on. Now, If these bolts are really, really rusty and you don't, like, it feels like you're gonna snap them when you take them off, just don't take them off. Just do the drain plug from this little hole you can see here. But the problem is when you drain the oil, it's gonna drip down into this pan. And if this is full of stuff, you know, old dirt and stuff, it's just gonna collect in here. So I would advise to, if you can, take it off, but you apparently don't have to. So just a tip, but it's not good to strip the bolts. That would really suck. So only do that if you feel like they're coming off, you know. Otherwise, you know, you might get a screwdriver in there and kind of get all that dirt out. Now, I couldn't be bothered to find the exact torque spec of these bolts, but they're probably a grade 8.8 and they're M8 threads, so about 25 Newton meters should do. All right, so let's move on to the front diff here, which is an actual diff, because it has a differential in it. We can get into that in another video if you guys would like, but this is going to be pretty much the same as the rear. The only key difference is that this one doesn't have a level plug. So the filling plug, which is right here, is the level plug as well. So we only have a drain plug and a level plug. But we'll start with this one. This is a 17 millimeter, just like in the rear. Take that off, and it looks like it's at level, which is good. You can change the O-ring on that as well. And once that's kind of done dripping, you can access the drain plug here. It's going to be a 10 millimeter through this little center hole here. There we go. Let that drip out. All right, so now that that's kind of done dripping, it's kind of a thick oil, so it takes a little bit too long. You want to put this back, and we can just pretend that I put a new gasket on there. It's going to be the same dimension as in the rear. I'll go ahead and tighten it to 12 Newton meters. I just grabbed a piece of my air hose here. Boop. Works pretty good. Now we just need to get this in here. Now this holds 241 cubic centimeters of oil. And then we just pour until it starts overflowing. Well, let's double check that, see if it's actually at the level. Because it kind of felt like it didn't fill up all the way. No, still got a little bit of ways to go. That looks more like it's at level. And then again, we put a new O-ring on this. And torque it down to 12 Newton meters. Here we go. Just like so. Awesome. That's the diff oils. Nice and simple. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is the brake fluid. It's probably never been changed. This is a 2000, it was built in 2003. It's a 2004 model, so it's not been changed. I don't think it has. I mean, these screws up here look very much untouched, and they can be a little tricky to get off, but we'll get to that. The first thing you wanna do though, before even attempting to change the brake fluid, is just have a quick look at the brakes themselves, because there's a little peephole here. Just kind of look inside, make sure that everything's dry and nice, and that the pads or the brake shoes are not completely worn out, because then you want to go ahead and do the brake job first. So let's start there. All right, so the peephole that I'm talking about is this little red plug right here, this little rubber piece. Just pull that out. Now let's have a look inside. Now, as you can imagine, this is almost impossible to film, but in this hole, you'll be able to see the brake pad. You can see it right there, and it should be at least 1 millimeter thick, and that is a good, I would say that's a good 3 or 4 millimeters, so it's definitely okay. And you also want to make sure you don't have any like oily substance in here. It should be nice and dry in here. Now, if you do see that it's all wet in here and oily, that is most likely brake fluid, and probably one of your cylinders is bad because you got 2 on each side. So you got 2 on this side, 2 on the other side. It's a 4 in total. One of those are probably bad in that case. I would go ahead and change them both, but you can do whatever you want. You can rebuild them or whatever. But if it is wet in here, then I would halt this procedure and kind of take the wheel off, have a look at the wheel cylinders and make sure that they're okay first before we change the brake fluid. Just to make this a little easier, I'm going to go ahead and raise the whole four-wheeler up and take the front wheels off. It's going to be a 17. I like to put the nuts back on the hub here, so I just keep track of them. It's easy to hit them with your feet and then they go all over the place. And then when we've taken the wheels off, we want to go ahead and make it somewhat level again. So something like that. You know, it doesn't need to be rocket science, but that looks pretty level to me. And then we're going to go ahead and turn the steering bars, what do you call it, steering bars? No, you don't call it steering bars. Handlebars. Go ahead and turn the handlebars all the way to the left. By the way, this is also how you check the level in your brake fluid reservoir. So you have a little note here that says lower. So we're going to go ahead and remove the cap here. And if you're just topping it up, you can just remove the cap and fill it up all the way to the casting edge of this container. Now, I'm not really taking any chances with these screws right here. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of these. I'm not exactly sure what these are called. Like a hammer screwdriver. So we're getting stubborn things out. And then we're just going to whack that and get it loose. And then we just pray we don't strip these. Oh. Never mind. Maybe someone did check the brake level at some point, huh? Look at that. Those came out like nothing. All right, so go ahead and remove those. And we just want to open this up. You see that? We got a little bit of corrosion here on the aluminum, which means we do have water in here. Take this off. Oh yeah. There is some water in there. Go ahead and lift this up. And that's how it looks like in there. And as you can see, the brake fluid is, it's not clear. It's full of water. So that's kind of the problem with brake fluid. It's something called hydroscopic. So it will attract moisture out of like thin air. So that's why you got to change it out every 2 years. It'll get bad no matter how concealed it is. 2 years, go ahead, change it out. If this has been there since 2003, it's definitely time. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can do it either the manual way, which I'm going to show you, or you can just suck it out with one of these vacuum suckers. But, you know, this demands a compressor, airlines, you know, in this thing. But I'll link it below if you have a compressor and airline. If you want to get yourself one of these, I highly recommend it. Whether you're doing this on a four-wheeler or a car or whatever, makes the job a hell of a lot faster. I'm going to show you that too. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is get that piece of trash out of there. I don't know what that's doing in there. Maybe it's supposed to be there. There's some plastic thing here. We'll make sure to put that back in there. I don't know what that does, but we'll remember that. So the first thing we want to do is get rid of this old brake fluid that's in here. And if you don't have like a vacuum sucker, you can just go ahead and use one of these, just the top of a regular old bottle of cleaning fluid or whatever. Make sure it's nice and clean and dry so you don't introduce anything else in here. Go ahead, stick that in there. Then you want to go ahead and get your brake fluid. Now it's got to be .4, and you want to have it from a sealed container. Oh shit, now if you do get this on your plastics, you want to go ahead and wipe it off immediately because it will stain. You want to get it right up to that ledge right there, but don't make it go over, because that kind of sucks. So now that we've got some fresh fluid in there, we move down to the wheel. All right, so this is the right front tire, or hub assembly, and we do have the brake bleeding valve here. Now, the brake line goes down on this side, goes into the first brake cylinder on this side right here, and then there's a hard line going across, down, and up to here, and this is where the bleeding screw is. We just take this protective rubber shielding off, put a clear plastic tube on here, or hose, so you can see what's going on if you see any bubbles. And then since we're working from behind here, we're gonna actually act like we're tightening it because we're on the other side. Might be a bit confusing, but we're gonna pull this up anyway. So what you wanna do now is hold your brake. So you apply full brake, and you open this up. You can see the brake fluid coming out. Then you close it, and then you let go of the brake handle. Pump it a few times. Hold it, open up the bleeding valve. Close the bleeding valve, pump the brake, hold it, open the bleeding valve, close the bleeding valve. And you just keep doing this until you have flushed through and get nice, fresh brake fluid down here. Also make sure you don't run out of brake fluid up in the reservoir. It's actually a lot better to go slowly like this because it's kind of squirting all over. Alright, so for the other side here, we're going to use the vacuum sucker. I don't know what it's called. But you just connect it like that. Remove the little protective hat. Put the hose on. And then we're just going to open this up while we apply a vacuum. You want to watch out for the level in the reservoir there because it'll empty very quickly when doing it with vacuum. When you're done, turn your wheel all the way to the left and then top it up right to the casting here. And then your level is set. So right about there, a little too much. It's not the most convenient bottle. Drop this piece of plastic in here again. Not really sure what that does. You want to go ahead and clean this rubber thing off first. Do not use brake cleaner to clean this off. Just use a shop rag or something. Make sure it's nice and clean. Get all the water out of there. It should look something like that. Pop that in there. And of course, the same thing for this plastic piece. It's going to overflow a little bit. You can go ahead and tilt it back now. And then you put the top on. Just like that. And then tighten it down. Don't need to be much, just like that. Now I would advise you to wash the whole bike so you can get all of that brake fluid off of it. And that concludes the brake fluid. And just make sure you put the caps on the bleeding valve there on both sides and put the wheels on. The wheels get torqued down to, I actually couldn't find what the torque value is supposed to be for the wheel, for the lug nuts, but it is an M10 bolt, so I would say somewhere between 40 and 60. So let's say 50 Newton meters for the lug nuts. While we have the wheels off, let's go ahead and adjust the brake shoes because I feel like this is a little bit too much play. Now, in order to adjust this, all we need to do is find the adjuster. We have one right here and one on the other side. So there's 4 adjusters for the whole bike. Now it's extremely hard to film this. I'm gonna try. Now I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is an adjuster right there. You move it like so. Okay. Hope you guys can see that. But that's one adjuster, and then you have the other adjuster on the other side here. So let's move this around. It should show itself here soon. Right there. You have the adjuster right there. And it's the same basic principle. Take a screwdriver and you adjust it like that. Okay? Alright, so what you want to do here is adjust this so that it's tight against the drum. So there you go. Now it's locked in. And then you want to back it off 3 cogs. So there we go. There's 1, 2, and 3. So now it should spin, and it does. Now we move on to the other one. You do the same thing here. Tighten it up. Now it's solid. Then you back it off 3 cogs. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now it should spin. And it feels pretty good. And then you just do the same thing to the other side. Alright, so let's remeasure this. It should be between 20 and 30 millimeters. So here we have 12. Actually, let's measure it in here instead so we get a little better measurement. So we have 10 centimeters. We apply it, and I would say somewhere around here is where we start to get some action. 7.3. So that's good. Now for the rear brake, it should be 15 to 20 millimeters. That's not too bad. Could use a little. Feels a little sloppy. Alright, so this is where you adjust the play in the handle. We're just going to go ahead and tighten this up a little bit. And if you want to check the brake shoes in the rear, there's an indicator right here on the lever. There's like a little arrow here, and then there's a kind of corresponding arrow on this little piece right here. And if these two line up at full brake, then the brake shoes are bad. So I'm going to give this the full beans on the brake here. And we can see that these are not matching up at all. So we have plenty of brakes left in the rear. First, let's lube this up a little bit. Doesn't kind of look like it needed it. Just your universal stuff. And so you hold it up here with an 8mm, and then you just turn this wing nut. I'm gonna give this a couple of turns. It's still a little bit sloppy, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it a little more. So I said 15 to 20 millimeters, right? So that's at about 9.2 and 8. Okay, so it's a little too tight. We'll back it off a little bit. We're looking for 15 millimeters, or thereabouts. 9.2, 7.5. I do have a little bit of a problem with this brake wire. And when it comes to the foot pedal, you want to have 15 to 20 millimeters, and this one's fine. I don't think I ever used a foot pedal, really. And this is where you make that adjustment. You tighten it or loosening it. All right, so we're quickly moving on to the last two things that I'm going to do to this bike in this episode. And if you want more episodes, make sure to subscribe. Comment down below if you want a continuation of this series of services on this car, or on this motorcycle. Anyway, we're going to check out the air filter. I'm going to show you how to clean that and how to oil it up. And we're also going to do the spark plug. All right, so let's start by taking off the seat. We have this little lever right here. Pop that off. And we pop the air filter lid off, just like so. And there's the filter. The filtre. Now, oh, that is nice and sticky. We got a little screw down there that we're going to remove. All right, so just go ahead and get that, what do you call it, hose clamp. There we go. Another thing we want to fix is, if you look down there, we want to make sure we do not have that. There's a little plug that you can remove to get all that water out of there. Hope you guys will be able to see it from here. It's kind of difficult to film, but under here, this is the air box, and then you have a little piece of hose here. You got a little clamp on that, and you just remove that. As you can see, there's quite a lot of water in that and gunk. So just clean that out, put it back. And I guess it can't be a bad idea to just wipe this dirt out of here. There we go. Got that nice and clean. And when it comes to the cleaning of the filter, I do not have a dedicated filter cleaner. This is Abnet. It's very good on oils and greases and everything, and it's not petroleum based. So we're gonna go with that. See if we can't get this clean. It's very oily and sticky. So yeah, let's just dunk it in here. And you want to squeeze it. But you don't want to, you don't want to twist it and go. Just be gentle. Clean it gently. I've got a grate at the bottom of this, so if there are any larger particles, that'll collect at the bottom of the bucket and not get reintroduced into the foam here. So that's looking pretty good. We've still got a little bit of a mark here from the crankcase ventilation. Not sure if that's going to come out, but I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll give it a bit of an evaluation if Abnet is a good thing to use on filters. But this is gonna have to, I'm gonna have to rinse this out, leave it out to dry, and check it out tomorrow. That's the final result right there. Looks pretty clean to me, except for that spot, but that could just be stained. But obviously I don't have time to wait all the way until tomorrow, because I want to get this video done. It's kind of the last shooting day for me here. So I have actually got a twin air filter here. Now this is unoiled, so we're going to go ahead and do that. A nice little sticker for my little wall of stickers there. twin air. I don't know if that's kind of a performance thing or what that is, but we're going to oil it up anyway. Now, I want you to note that I have never, well, look at that. You get the hose clamp too. That was kind. Nice, thank you. I have never oiled an air filter before. I know, it's weird, right? I usually buy them pre-oiled, and then I wind up selling the thing I'm servicing, so I never really get to do it again. And haven't been riding motocross or anything like that, but so this will be the first time. So I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna show it anyway. So what I got with the kit, it's like a service kit that I bought for this Honda. Links below. I got this with it. It's some kind of spray filter oil. Now, if I read the Honda manual, it says to fill the inside with oil and then squeeze it until it comes to the outside inside of a plastic bag. So I don't know what we're going to do here, but I guess we'll just spray this on and then just thoroughly make sure it's in there. Actually, there is a bit of an instruction here. Alright, so I guess we just saturate it and, you know, try to squeeze as much out. And then remove the excess with some kind of paper towel. Let's see what happens. Oh shit. Wow, that is one thick that's one thick stream. Alright. I'll just completely cover this then. Squeeze it. It should turn into a uniform color. Is it really supposed to be this much oil in it? That feels crazy to me. Okay, so then we're supposed to like wring it out. I've definitely got enough in there. That's for sure. Alright, so I'm going to try to get as much of this out of here now as possible. Well, I don't know if that's a very even color, but I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. Maybe I can do a little more. Alright, that's about as good as I can get it. I mean, that looks pretty good. Got a lot out of it. Alright, so it's been sitting for about 10 minutes now. So it should have, whoa, thickened. Yeah, I guess it has. So then we're gonna oh, look at that. You can see the strings off of it. So I just want to excuse my inexperience with this. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong. Maybe I got way too much in there. I'm not sure. I don't know how it's going to suck the air through this, but oh well. Maybe this is how it works on ATVs and stuff like that. Alright, I feel pretty happy with that. It's very sticky. Alright, so we're gonna so we're gonna gently press with paper towels. I don't have paper towels. I'm just gonna use this microfiber. Alright, so now that needs to sit for 4 hours and then install it. But we're just gonna install it right away because, you know, this thing's gonna be sitting for more than 4 hours, so it'll be fine. Alright, so we'll just drop that in there. And then we put the filter on. Yeah. We are going to take a look at the carb at one time. You know, you can see I got cracked hoses and stuff here, but that's a complete separate video if I'm going to go through that. So I figured I would just remove it and do a complete clean and probably a rebuild on it. Make sure all the vacuum hoses are where they're supposed to, because I don't think that's supposed to be there, for example. It's probably supposed to have a hose on it. Alright, I just put the seat back. Boom. Alright, so the service schedule for the air filter is every 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers, or 100 hours. Then it should be cleaned, just like I showed you right now. Wash it, dry it, oil it, put it back. You don't necessarily need to replace it. I just did it for convenience sake, like a little treat. So let's move on to the spark plug. That should be inspected every 600 miles, 1,000 kilometers, or 100 hours. Alright, so the spark plug. Let's check it out. Just pull the top off like that. Spark plug wire. Get yourself a long socket. Hopefully that'll fit. 18 millimeter. Crack it open. Let's take it out and see. I have never changed spark plug on this. It's very rusty, so I'm guessing it's still the original spark plug. We'll see here in a minute. Now, this engine is very clean. I just cleaned it before I serviced it, but just make sure you don't have any dirt or debris around the spark plug hole there when you take it out. Alright, so I'm not a very good reader of spark plugs since I'm so colorblind, but quite dirty. Probably due to that bad oil we had in there. This is a DPR7EA9. Let's go check the new one out. See what that is. It's exactly the same. DPR7EA9. So that should be just fine then. But I always like to take a look at them and compare them. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I would say the spark plug gap on this looks pretty big. Alright, so the spark plug should be between 0.8 and 0.9. So let's check out this new one. And it is precisely 0.8, I would say. It's definitely in between 0.8 and 0.9. Let me take the old one. It's actually tighter from all this soot. You can definitely tell that it's slightly worn. It's not too bad. You could probably run with this a little bit longer, but since we're doing the service, and I mean a spark plug isn't much money, let's just go ahead and change it out. And just put this bad boy in here, dry. Don't put any lube or anything on this. Thread it in manually all the way. Alright, so there is actually a specified torque spec for this at 18 Newton meters. Let's see if I can get the torque wrench in there though. That could be a challenge. No, it's fine. Alright. Just check out the boot a little bit here. That is a very short boot. Huh. Looks pretty good. Pop that back on, and there you go. Alright guys, that's all I have for you in this video. Kind of got to move on to the next one now, but if you would like to see more service stuff on this Honda, put a comment down below. We've still got a few things to go through, like the clutch adjustment, the carburetor, maybe do a rebuild on that. It definitely needs it. Check out, wheel alignment. Can do a bunch of things. I got it probably 10-15 points I can check on this thing. So if you would like to see more, put that in the comments below. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I will probably feature this thing a few more times on this channel. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Ha det gött! Hej!